Hey guys, just wanted to give you a quick update about this episode. So it's not going to sound as good as you are used to. We had a couple of technical difficulties while we were recording, and Warren's audio did not record properly. And it was impossible for me to cut my audio in, so we just decided to use the Skype audio that we record as a backup. It definitely doesn't sound as good, but you'll still be able to hear the episode. And we really want you to hear the episode because me and Warren had a ton of laughs making it. So we'll have it fixed for next episode. We just wanted to give you a heads up and let you know that we're sorry if this episode doesn't sound as good as it normally does. But please enjoy this episode. We love you. Let's get to the show. Have you lost some weight or something? I don't know. You're looking good, bro. You're looking good.
I shaved a little bit. I had a Zoom audition, so maybe it's all working.
Maybe. I don't know, but you looking fine.
Ooh, maybe it's the sense of commitment has rejuvenated my looks. Now that I'm really off the market, I'm even more desirable to everyone.
Absolutely. I think that's probably what it is. Well, I mean, there is a thing that when you are in a committed relationship, you send off pheromones that tell people that, and it's the time you as a man are most desirable to other women. Well, it's so cruel.
It truly is. Like, what? Why now? Well, I guess probably what it is because I'm not like the hungry wolf in a cartoon, being like, "Ow!" Now I'm just like calm and can actually converse with people.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what it is, right? Like you're not desperate. There's no sense of you being like, I really need to get laid.
Yeah. This doesn't happen. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die at your feet right now. Like, no, you're not.
Can your testicles explode? I don't know.
It's like the reactor. In the next movie. In 10 seconds, they're gonna explode. Please help me out.
Absolutely. Just the 24 countdown clock.
Yeah.
Boop, beep,
like 24 hours to get laid. Or my balls will explode.
Well, hello and welcome everyone to Pop Culture Party People, where we talk about testicles exploding like no one else in the industry. We are industry-leading testicle explosion experts. My name is Dillon, and I am a humble host here at Pop Culture Party People.
I'm Warren Chow, and I'm a humble host of Pop Culture Party People, resident expert of ball exploding science. And honestly, you find a lane and you just take it. You just got to take it.
What degree did you get that ball explosion from?
It was a mixture of DeVry and Phoenix. They conjoined to give me a degree in ball exploding technology.
So two universally recognized and praised colleges. Two universally known top tier schools.
Top tier online schools. Ahead of the curve, really ahead of it, doing online schools before it was necessary.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're truly the Ivies of the online school market. Oh, well, once again, hello and welcome to Pop Culture Party People. How is it? How have you been, Warren? How's life? We're on episode number 7 of this very podcast, and I'm very excited to talk about the stuff that we watched and the things that we did. But let's catch up a little bit. It's been a little while. How are things?
Well, things are good. My girlfriend and I are getting serious. We put a deposit down in a 1-bedroom in Crown Heights, so that's pretty exciting. If anyone in my family listens to this, I think they're going to find out through this instead of me telling them. So that's kind of fun. The fun little Easter egg. Like, are you actually listening to what I'm doing? Are you actually following me?
That's a good way to find out whether or not your family really loves you.
I already know the answer to that. So I don't know. I guess it's more for my friends. If they don't text me being like, are you really doing this? Then I know if you're really in my life or you're really not in my life. But yeah, I'm good. I'm also excited for the month of October and being able to talk to you, being the resident specialist in all things horror movies related. So I'm really excited for our podcast.
Absolutely. Yes, it is October officially now. And as every news station is calling it, it's spooky season. Oh. It sounds so wrong when people say it like that. But
easy.
I know for me, October carries a very special place in my heart.
But what about you? How were your Halloweens? Because I'd love to tell you a little bit about my Halloweens and say why I love this season so much and why it transitioned into me loving films about this season and horror and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know if you've had the same sort of love of Halloween that I did.
I can tell you now, there's no way I did because my house. I didn't grow up in an area where there are a lot of houses to go trick or treating. I lived in a wooded area. My house was like it was close to other houses, but it wasn't like steep roads, and they weren't. The houses had like driveways, so it wouldn't be a nice walk to go trick or treating. And never, I think, never have my parents had a trick or treaters in the house I grew up in. So there wasn't much of like a reason to decorate. There was no reason to have candy out. Like it wasn't like a look forward to holiday in the Chow household.
Yeah, the Chow House was very anti-Halloween. Very.
Yeah, my parents would have to drive us to like where our friends were going trick or treating to where like houses were to go do that. So it was almost such a process to go trick or treating. Of course, we loved it, loved the candy, loved talking about it, and it was a great time getting costumes. But I think around middle school, it really kind of lost its luster for me to a point where like I just wore jeans and a blue hoodie and put like a blue balloon around my neck, and people were like, "What are you?" I was like, "I don't know, you tell me." And they're like, "You're a Smurf." So like, so Halloween, I think that's probably why horror movies didn't last long, or I I like the candy and love candy, but I'm not the biggest trick or treater. No.
Yeah, I would say I'm the exact opposite. So I grew up in a very small town in rural Maine, but when it came Halloween time and Christmas time too, you've seen like Hocus Pocus and stuff like that, and like the Halloween town, and like those towns in New England where they fucking go out
Oh
for
yeah.
Halloween.
Oh
Like
yeah.
everybody in the town is involved. There's harvest festivals. There's
Ooh,
fucking hay rides and pumpkins are
yes,
everywhere. That was my childhood.
that's
Like
amazing.
when I watched those movies as a kid, I was like, oh, this is normal. This is what everybody does
As
on Halloween. Like you
you
just have
should,
a,
though.
yeah,
Yeah,
and you should.
yeah.
And I actually recently read a really sad article about how Halloween is kind of dying, not just because of the pandemic, but as parents become more and more afraid of their children not being supervised and stuff like that, and not being in eyesight all the time, they worry about their kids like trick or treating and having like that free time. And it's
Sure.
one of those things like those were some formative moments for me growing up because, yeah, Halloween is a time where your parents are like, all right, you're free to go. And
Yeah.
you're like,
Best of luck.
yeah, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Come back by, a specified time, but this is your night to kind of be like a mini adult and
Right.
gather candy like a crazed fiend.
Yeah, I guess it's also the thing. Like, it's like the innate nature of how spooky it is. Are the older kids gonna fuck with you? Or are there like people who are like messing things up gonna steal your candy? Is it just like you going trick or treating? Will there be razor blades in your candy?
Yeah,
I don't like. There's
everything
a lot of hauntingness to trick or
yeah,
treating that surpasses just going trick or treating.
everything does it's meant to be like a controlled scare, right? Like that's the reason why, and I think that's the reason why as time went by I loved horror so much. It's an environment upon which you know that you're safe,
Yep.
quote unquote,
Yeah.
but you can still feel afraid. And
Right.
that's a cool feeling. That's a nice feeling. It's definitely one that I'm kind of nostalgic for because, especially as you get older and things don't become scary as much as they just become existential dread. Like I'm not,
Right. Right.
I'm not necessarily afraid of climate change. I'm deeply worried about climate change. There's like a different,
Yeah. Like, ooh, climate change, that's scary. And they're like, no, like we may run out of the coral reef, which is like huge part of us breathing air in this
yeah,
environment.
yeah. So it's not like scary as much as just like, oh my god, the world is ending. That
Uh-huh.
not fun. Being like, oh my god, that's a creepy skeleton.
Right,
Very fun.
right.
Two
A jump
different sides.
scare, you can be over it. Like, ah, I'm scared. Oh, it's over now. But I guess
Yeah,
that's dread. It lingers. It's a big lingering feeling that you can't shake.
yeah, 100%. So that's the big difference. But so yeah, Halloween holds a huge place in my heart. It was always my favorite holiday. And I know that like obviously Christmas is amazing as well because presents and I don't know about you, I love Christmas music and I love like decorating for the season. I love that aspect of it as well. But I don't know, Halloween, I love the imagery of it too. Like, yeah, it's creepy, it's dark, it's weird. And that is wonderful. So over the course of this month, me and Warren, we're obviously going to go through the films that we talked about on last episode, but starting from this episode, we are going to try and be like Halloween or horror movie focused going forward for the next couple of episodes to really give Warren, one, a chance to experience some of my favorite Halloween and horror films, but two, just to, you know, keep the holiday spirit as we go by. And we'll do the same thing for Christmas.
Well, let me ask you one question. What was your all-time favorite Halloween costume? Whether it was bought, made for you, whatever it is. What do you have an all-time favorite that jumps to mind right now?
I do. So I have always loved skeletons. I think skeletons are beautiful to look at. I'm a huge fan of like taxidermy and stuff as well. Like I would ideally at some point, if I ever have enough money, my house will be filled with like skeletons of stuff. And one year I got a Grim Reaper outfit, but the mask itself was a really cool skeleton, but it also had the blood effect. So you could push a little button. So yeah, the mask had like plastic, and then it was another sheet of plastic, and then if you push this little like valve on the side, blood would rain down its face. And I thought that was the coolest goddamn thing I had ever seen.
How old were you? Were you the height that you are now when you're wearing that too? Because that is extremely frightening.
No. I was still tall for my age though, so I was probably about 9 or 10, and I was already about 5'6", 5'8", something like that.
Oh my god, I'm so afraid of you if I'm in your school. I'm sprinting to class.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been tall for my age, but for listeners who don't know, because you're only seeing us from like the neck down, I am 6'4", so I'm like a big human being, and I'm also just like I don't want to say I'm fat, but I'm just a large lad in general, just a big dude.
Yeah,
and it's been like that my entire life.
You were raised differently. You were like tailor made for football, like
yeah, and yet I chose to be a thespian.
Yeah.
Such disappointment in my coach's face when I said that. Like when I got to high school, my football coach was like, "Oh, we found him. We fucking did it. We got our linebacker. He's in." And he approached me, and I was just like, "Yeah, I hate football. I've never watched it, and I'm actually going to join the theater class."
Yeah.
The look of
like,
disappointment
in the locker room, putting helmets on. He's like, "Oh, do you want to play?" You're like, "No, I'm trying to find my character."
Yeah. Oh my god.
So
all
my
right.
all-time favorite. Wait, real quick. My favorite costume of all time. My mom hand-stitched the White Ranger costume for me out of a white hoodie and white pants. So like that.
Oh god, bro! Do you have a picture of
that? I think I can track it down.
I would love to see that. That sounds like commitment and love.
Sure is.
Those two things were woven into that costume.
Yeah. If nothing else, my mom is super talented and would love any challenge to create anything for us. So Halloween costumes definitely were a lot of fun in our household. But
Mrs. Chow, if you're listening, I'm still in need of a costume for this year. So feel free to break out that seamstress skill, because I am ready.
If you want to hit up Vichen Designs, maybe she can design something for you. Actual business, her actual graphic design business. So if you do want to hit her up, feel free.
Awesome. Actually, I don't know what do your parents do for a living? I don't know if we ever had that conversation.
So my dad is a consultant, a financial consultant. So he traveled around the world and traveled different businesses, wheeling and dealing, making money on Wall Street, on off of Wall Street. And then my mom was she was a mother of 3, but then she's a busybody. So she started modeling at 40, creator at the local art museum. She became a saleswoman for the Carlisle fashion brand. She created her own graphic design business at Vichen Design. And then
your mom sounds fucking awesome. Your dad sounds cool too, but I'm not much of a money person. But
yeah, no, they're really cool. My dad has a hobby when we retired. Well, even growing up, was being an amateur race car driver. He bought himself a car and a trailer and would drive to racetracks and race in amateur races. And he still does it to this day. So they dive headfirst into their passions.
Is it kind of weird that I'm not going to say that your life mirrors what's his name, the guy who did Benihana, but it sounds relatively similar.
Yeah, I hate the fact that as my life progresses, Stevie Aoki and I still have like an interesting parallel. And not only did I have to be compared to him to every EDM show I would go to, but now my life mirrors him in every way. Well, not every way, because he's vastly more successful.
I was about to say, I was like, I don't know if it's a 1-to-1.
Yeah, like a million to one, or more like 50 million, because he's like a multi-millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my family was always like my of odd jobs, just kind of like I did. So my dad always loved like working with his hands and stuff like that. So that led him to, at one point, he like used to design and kit out vans when he was younger. Like, yeah, you know, like those
Awesome.
70s vans that people love.
Uh-huh.
He would actually build and help create those.
Do the
And
painting
then
outside, like those,
no
like,
painting, but he was more like he would go into your van and like make it sound really good. My dad's been a big audiophile for a really long time, so he would do that when he was younger. And then as he got a little bit older, they started working for my grandfather started a company that builds the interiors and doors of elevators. Yeah, so when big companies like Schindler or Otis, those are the ones that you'll normally see if you're in New York or any large building. If they have a custom elevator that they need to put into a rich person's house, into a very hotel that needs a very specific design that they want, they would come to our family's company and we would custom build stuff for them.
What artisans. Very
Yeah.
nice.
So it's very interesting. Yeah. So whenever people ask, like, what does your family do? I'm like, well, they build elevators. And they're always like, oh, I guess somebody's got to do that. And you're like, yeah, somebody does.
Here's a pitch for your dad in the current era that is TikTok. If he was to trick out a van and make it mobile and make a video on it, like day by day, all the steps he took, and then sell that to someone, I think he could reach 1 million followers easily within a week.
Just described my father's greatest fear, and that is being seen by 1 million people. Not to be outdone, my mom is also pretty fucking cool. So she helped work with the family company, but her thing was always like she wanted to help kids. Like she thought at one point she'd be a child psychologist, but that didn't necessarily work out. But when we moved to Florida, my dad started working. Well, when we were in Maine, my dad worked on, and my mom both worked on the mountain. So like when you're growing up in Maine, or when we were growing up in Maine, the mountain is like 90% of the jobs. It's like it's providing all of that. So my dad did management of the mountain, like anything that needed to be repaired and fixed, he did that. And my mom did a bunch of odd jobs throughout the mountain. But when we were in Florida, my dad kept doing like worker stuff with his hands, but my mom got into like schooling and stuff like that. Not a teacher, but she, helped, assistant, all this other cool stuff. And then now they do work full time for the elevator company, which has obviously been affected a little bit by the COVID pandemic, but it's still going strong. The business has been around for more than 50 years now. So that's one of those, it's one of those things where my grandfather, like legitimately true American success story. He was first generation American. His father came over on the boat, died when he was 6.
Wow.
Was raised by his grandmother who didn't speak any English. They were so poor that they lived in the uppermost area of Harlem, put himself through college, then through engineering school, started his own business. And, at one point we were $1 million company. I don't know if that's the case now anymore, but yeah, my grandfather did all of that. And he sadly passed a couple of years ago, but yeah, like our family wouldn't have what we have without him. So it's always one of those things to think about.
Yeah, like for the sacrifices and all the hard work that our grandparents did for us now, it doesn't go unrecognized. And I'm so thankful to them, and I love them for that. I'm sorry that I didn't make a lot of money or contribute to your legacy.
Yeah, if you listen to this, we're sorry that we're such fuck-ups.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're making our own way. We will make you proud in our own ways through personal happiness.
You paved the road so that we could get off of it. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a great Dirty Rock line. It's like the first generation works hard, so the second generation can make a lot of money, so the third generation can go to improv classes.
Oh, God damn it. That's so true.
Yeah. So painfully true. I was like, it's literally me.
Oh, well, that was fun. So yeah, listeners, that's a little more background on us. But now let us get into, we had a viewer suggestion last time from your brother, I believe. Speaking of family.
Speaking of skeletons too.
Oh, absolutely.
Halloween costume was a skeleton costume.
Which, by the way, that is the worst skeleton put to film. I hate those costumes so much.
They're kind of cool, right? Because they're kind of like deconstructed, kind of dangerous.
Nope. So yeah, we had a listener suggestion from Warren's brother, and that suggestion was Cobra Kai.
Yes. Thank you, Kevin, for suggesting it to us. When he first brought it up, I was like, no way. This show looks cheap. It looks dumb. Like, I don't like Karate Kid. Sure, I liked it, but really? But it was great. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I have to completely agree. I was much like you when I first heard they were doing a Karate Kid spin-off show. I was like, wow, man, we're really reaching the bottom of the barrel now, aren't we? In content creation. But I was pleasantly surprised and shocked by how much I genuinely liked this show. Like, legitimately, after episode 1, I was hooked. I was ready for more, and then fucking blitzed the entire 2 seasons in the course of a fucking weekend. That's how good it was.
Same here. Like they got the original cast, which is really great, and it has like these Shakespearean tones of it, or biblical too, of like the sins of your father passes on to their child. But then it's a thing of like, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I mean it's a pretty quick watch. Like having Johnny's son become Daniel LaRusso's main student is just so. It was so compelling to me. I didn't think I would care that much, but I was like, oh my God, really? Is he going to be the Miyagi to Daniel to his arch nemesis? That's like the ultimate punch in the face. That is the biggest gut punch you can do to your mortal enemy, is raise their son for them.
Absolutely. I think the biggest compliment I could give this show is that it is really well written. The acting is not great. We should point that out. It's a little cheesy. It's a little hokey. It's a little bad. But the stories that they have set up for these characters, like Warren said, are true. Yeah, they've got a lot of pathos. There's a lot of intrigue and interest. And yeah, you start to deeply care about characters that who the fuck thought you were going to care about the bad guy from the Karate Kid 1 movie? Who the fuck thought you would actually start to empathize with him?
But then it's the type of thing, like, it does paint this great picture. There was a great YouTube video that came out a while ago that said that Daniel LaRusso is the real villain of Karate Kid. And this show does a great job of being like, what side do you take? Because arguably they're both bad people. There's no right answer. There's no good guy in this show. They're both just trying to exist and just trying to figure out their lives. If anything, Daniel's like a humongous dick at times. He goes out of his way to just really stomp on Johnny's face.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say Johnny is more traditionally douchey, right? He's just like a jock. He was obviously portrayed in the movie as a real asshole, but also, yeah, Daniel LaRusso is not faultless. Like, I mean, really smug, could be really arrogant. Yes, fucking he got bullied and stuff like that, but you shouldn't become a bully in the process after that.
It doesn't warrant you to be a bully, yeah.
Yeah, that's not how that gets better. And the show does a phenomenal job of examining that. At the end of the day, the show is awash in gray, and that is what the world needs right now. No character is perfect. Every character has flaws and weaknesses, but they also have moments where you go, oh, they're good people, and I care for them. Except for maybe his daughter, who's not very good.
No, she's like, she was made out to be this ultimate kung fu warrior that you're waiting to see, kind of like, who learned from Daniel at the age of 3, and then she stopped. And you're kind of like, I don't need this. I want her to be better. That's all.
Actually, I take that back. His son is the worst. I hate his son on that show. Luckily, he's not in it very often.
Yeah, they got rid of him in season 2. They're like, all right, these jokes aren't working. He's annoying. Goodbye.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
I'll say the hardest scene to watch is when Daniel's daughter brings over her Asian boyfriend, and he puts on a whole sashimi cutting ceremony for him. He like wears a kimono. He has like these sharpened knives, and he's cutting fish. And the boy, he's like, yeah, I don't like sushi. And they're all like appalled. They're like, oh, like, how could you? Like, he went to all this trouble to show his reappropriation of Japanese culture, which you have no frame of reference to, and forcing it upon you. And you don't like sushi?
Not only
Like,
that, the guy's like, I'm Chinese. This
Yeah.
means nothing to me.
But it's like the type of thing in the full context of like, if Daniel was raised by Mr. Miyagi, and of course he's going to be ingratiated by the Japanese culture and it's going to become part of his life. But when you just see him for the first time, you're like, oh, this is gross. Like, you're pushing on your weird reappropriation agenda on me. So it's like, that wash of gray is a great way of being like, sometimes you need to look deeper within someone and see what their intentions are, what they're going for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do think that the show does go like, dude, every fucking scene it's about Daniel talking about Mr. Miyagi. It's like,
Yeah.
I get it. The guy was important to you. He was
Uh-huh.
basically your father.
Yes.
I understand. You can move on for the love of God.
You're 50 years old. You have a lot of dealerships. You're accomplished. Move on.
Yeah, you did it. You had a wife, 2 kids.
Yeah. A gorgeous wife.
Yeah, wife exceedingly hot. But yeah, no. But overall, the show is just like a warm blanket of both like nostalgia and good writing, and just it feels good to wear. It just feels nice.
It's very comfortable. And the fight scenes are good.
They're
fun.
okay.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna be like, nobody's expecting it to be fucking, Jet Li or Jackie Chan level.
It's not gonna be the Raid.
Yeah. And they slowly put their feet together and shuffle forward.
It's like wrecking kids, just breaking all their bones, leaving them dead and moving on.
That would really take the show over the top, though, if they considered that.
Well, I mean, maybe it's a new tone for season 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that they're doing a season 3 and a season 4, which I'm kind of disappointed about. Like, I think 3 would be enough. Like, I think the show works for now, but I think one more season is probably enough. I don't know.
Yeah. It doesn't need to exist anymore. Like, it's done its job. It's done its job. They already did the tournament, So like, just like in the Karate Kid movies, once you get past 2, it's like, this is insane and doesn't need to exist anymore.
Well, I mean, I definitely want to see, because at the end of season 2, no spoilers, something big happens, and I am interested to see how they resolve that. But after that, like, yeah, I'm much like you. Like, yeah, this doesn't need to go on. The best thing about being a creator is knowing when it's time for you to finish. And say what you will about Jerry Seinfeld, but they fucking did that perfectly for Seinfeld. They knew. They were like, all right, we're done. We need to wrap this up.
Because it could have gone on forever. That could have been the Simpsons, like live action Simpsons of like just going on forever, never ending. But yeah, no, because they were also widely successful and didn't need to do it anymore.
Yep. They were just like, look, we knew, we killed it. We crushed it. The show can live in infamy now. Goodbye. Like, that is the way that you as a creator should look at your stuff. You should obviously care about it. You should want it to keep going and stuff like that. But you also have to realize that the ending is just as important as the beginning. I'm talking to you, Game of Thrones.
Oh, man. We honestly need to write an essay on like how every pop culture conversation will eventually lead back to Game of Thrones ending. It's such a brutal zeitgeist stabber.
Well, I mean, yeah, because it was, I don't think any show ever in history, even shows that were, watched by millions of people because there were only 3 networks. Mm-hmm. I don't know if any show, because of the internet and because of how high quality it was, entered the cultural landscape like Game of Thrones. And then for them to do what they did, like, that's got to be, I mean, there have been bad endings. I mean, I know The Sopranos got a lot of shit for its ending, which I also didn't like. And a lot of shows end poorly, but Game of Thrones went out of their way to ruin season 8. It's
big
unbelievable.
Big time. Because they also gave themselves like a 2-year window to end it of like, so everyone had to wait patiently and ramped up. They created higher expectations that they couldn't meet. It's just like a terribly run ending or like lead up to an ending they could never meet.
Well, every single thing, and I don't know if we talked about this in a previous episode, but every single thing we probably have. And if we're doing it again, this is just how most conversations with me go. Eventually, I will bring it back to the ending of season 1. Right. But the idea,
the Dillon, whatever. All right, I'll think of a term for it later on. Anyways, continue.
The Dillon Dragon Dilemma.
Yeah.
Good alliteration, Dillon. Thank you, Dillon. The biggest problem is that HBO was just like, you guys can fucking keep going. George R. R. Martin was like, you can keep going. And those two fucks decided that they're like, no, we're not going to give the show to somebody else, and we're not going to let it keep like have a better story. No, we're going to finish it. And then like just like you said, we're going to build it up for 2 years. That this season is going to be everything that your eyeballs have ever wanted to witness. And then we're going to shit on every single thing. Oh God, I can't. I'm not. We need to move on.
We need to move on, and HBO has moved on. What with Lovecraft and with Watchmen, they created great shows to really cleanse their palate.
That's true. Yeah, they're coming back. I'm interested to see the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon. Like that sounds like it's going to be really interesting. Yeah, I mean, and also I guarantee you that in maybe 10, 15 years, we'll have like a new Harry Potter show or a new Game of Thrones. Like, nothing is sacred.
No, truly not. And also, there's a lot of sleeper gems too. I finished Upload on Amazon, and I love that show. That show had no right.
That show, right?
Fun. It's fun. It's delightful. The romance feels real between a pixelated person essentially and a real life person. It was really charming. I can't wait for season 2.
So I'm a huge fan of that writer. And guys, for those of you who don't know, we're talking about Upload. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a show about a guy who dies and then is uploaded to the cloud, essentially, which is your afterlife. So you still have all of your memories and stuff because you've been digitized. But he also necessarily didn't want to get put into the cloud. Right. You're finding that out as the season. Area. Yeah, you're finding that out as the season goes along. But yeah, I think the writing is great. I think the casting is really fun. They have a lot of fun stuff playing with the idea of a digital afterlife and like glitching through that.
Also, is it worth? Do you want to like continue living after you die too? Like, is it actually a prison that you're stuck in? Like, what type of joy can you get out of it?
Well, that's a good question. Welcome to Pop Culture Party People, where we get existential. Would you like to be uploaded to the cloud essentially after you die?
Hell no. I don't like I think when my time is done, I would like to move on. I think being stuck in a prison like that would be terrible because you're stuck in one state of being. You don't really get to grow as a person. I mean, I guess mentally you can grow and like you can learn lessons, but you're stuck in a certain state. And then the things around you, you're more limited than you realize. If you're stuck in essentially a room, the limited number of things you can eat and do, and it sounds like quarantine all over again, but for eternity. And I want no part of it.
I couldn't agree more. I think the reason why life is important is because there's a finish line. Once again, Game of Thrones, you need to be listening. There's a finish line. But no, I think I do believe that, and obviously I've dealt with depression and suicidal tendencies and stuff like that. So I've even wanted to die at multiple points in my life. So yeah, the idea of it would be awful to me, honestly, if I died, and whether I took my life or it was taken from me, and then to go like to wake up and be back in like a simulation, I would be so upset.
Hell yeah. Take me out.
Angry.
Just let me be digitized. Just end me now. Well, like they do a great storyline of the young boy. He died at, let's say, the age of like 8 or so, and they digitized him in there. So he doesn't get to grow up at all. He's stuck at the age of 8 while the rest of his life is growing up. His best friend is now in high school, trying to go on dates, doesn't want to hang out with an 8-year-old anymore. His brother is like the homecoming king or prom king or just going to prom in general. So like he is forever trapped. That's a hellscape. That sounds like torture.
Yeah.
So it did a really great job of presenting this like rose-colored glasses of like, oh, you get to live this like pleasured afterlife when really it's existential dread.
Yeah, I think if maybe it would be fun if you could turn yourself off, right? Like when you finally are just like, oh, I'm done with this. Maybe that'd be can't. But I don't know. Yeah, I like the idea of when I die, I'm dead. And I'm okay with that. Like as a person, I like that idea.
Yes. And also the idea of like an eternal vacation doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like a life worth living.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Speaking of life not worth living, we watched Three Ninjas.
Oh, hey, I don't like that segue. But is it good? But all right. But like, is Three Ninjas good? I'm very excited to talk about this because I have a really mixed take on this because I grew up on this movie.
So absolutely. So last time, we've been on a real kung fu kick recently on Pop Culture Party People because everything that we've reviewed has been either fighting or kung fu related up until now, which is fine.
It's fine.
But
it's fun.
with Cobra Kai and now with Three Ninjas,
And then
we're
what
gonna
with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then with Surf Ninjas before that, a lot of ninjas.
a lot of ninjas with no discernible ninja dress except for this film,
Yeah,
which does have ninjas
finally
that
they
are
have ninjas.
dressed properly, except for one key feature,
What
which is
feature might you be
very
talking
strange. So I can't remember who was the guy in the NBA in the 90s who had those big fucking plastic glasses.
about? I think I'm gonna pull from a friend, and he said Horace Grant.
Horace Grant. Sure, yep, that guy. So he had these ridiculous glasses that he wore to protect himself because he needed to see, and there's nothing wrong with that. But every ninja in these Three Ninja movies, for some inexplicable reason, has these massive plastic fucking visors on
Yeah,
over their ninja gear, and I don't get it.
It's
don't
like they all
understand it.
they all had a science lab beforehand. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna learn how to make like poison gas," and they all
Yeah.
had goggles on. But then they like saw a red light, and they had to go rush to a meeting, but they forgot to take their goggles off.
Absolutely. So now we're going to talk about Three Ninjas on. Yeah, but is it good?
But is it good? But like, I understand like you grew up watching it, and it triggers like that serotonin in your brain. But is it actually good?
But yeah, is it good? So obviously, Warren, this movie has a lot of significance to you as a person, and this is the first time that I've ever seen it. So why don't you tell me a little bit about the film, why you nominated it, why you wanted to come back and revisit it? I would love to hear about it.
Well, I have older brothers, so in the child household there are three ninjas, and the three of us did karate, and the three of us loved this movie. Like the eldest John was Rocky, the middle Kevin was Colt, and I was Tum Tum. So like we embody those characters to the point where we got masks that looked similar to it. We each had one in our room. We would call each other those certain names. We would go around the house, like pretend of like how we would lay down traps if someone came in, and how we would hide, and how we take down intruders. We absolutely loved it. We couldn't get enough of this movie. We watched the sequels. We did our own little like we would do. Our mom would videotape us, and we would do like our own like kung fu videos, like not us fighting, but doing like little storylines. Like if a bully approaches you, what do you do, sort of thing. So like get enough Three Ninjas.
I love that was your childhood growing up. I obviously am an only child, so that is a foreign concept to me, but I love the idea of you guys like banding together to pull Home Alone-esque hijinks.
Mixed with violence.
Well, I mean, Home Alone's very violent.
Fair enough. Yeah. Hand-to-hand combat, I mean, then.
Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to say this, obviously, because this is the first time I've seen this, and much like Surf Ninjas is the first time I saw that, I would have to say that I think I liked Surf Ninjas more, but I think that the combat in this is better than Surf Ninjas, which is a real kick in the dick to the guy from Surf Ninjas.
Yes. Yeah. Excuse me. Ernie Reyes Jr. and Ernie Reyes are like they at the time were the best choreographers. They did some of the greatest fight scenes, and they can really flip and kick and do incredible things versus three white kids who took like remedial karate.
Yeah, from Sacramento, who've been in maybe 3 or 4 karate classes and are doing it really well, honestly, shockingly well.
Their wheel kicks are good and they look on point versus Ernie Reyes Jr. do like a triple axel to split to kick on your forehead, you know? Like there's no reason why Three Ninjas fight scenes should be better, but they are. They are.
So I'm gonna say the stuff that I liked about the movie and what I didn't, and then I'm gonna go back to you and see, if it held up, if it stood the test of time for you. So I really, like I said, I did enjoy the fight scenes. I thought they were surprisingly good for a film of this low quality, low quality caliber. I think that the kids at some points are fine, but obviously the dialogue is so like cringe inducing. In the 90s. Kids movies had to like include as many fart jokes and stupid jokes as they could, of course. To meet a quota. I really did enjoy the 3 like surfer stoner dude main villains. I actually think that they did a pretty good job. There's some good physical comedy there, and I think I enjoyed that. And overall, I do think Father, who actually does a good performance, I think he's probably the best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, he is really what keeps it together. Without him, it's like, this is gross.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, the bad things is apparently his daughter, who is supposed to be half Japanese, is the whitest woman I think I've ever laid witness to.
Yeah.
She is so shockingly white.
She's putting raisins in her potato salad. She is the head of the PTA.
She invented pumpkin spice. That's how fucking white this lady is. And she is supposed to be playing a half Japanese woman.
Yeah.
Also, their dad is the fucking worst.
The monster.
The worst father in cinema history. And I am including Thanos and everyone in that.
Yeah.
Like, they come back from a whole summer without seeing him get in a car and drive away for them. He doesn't literally have time to see his children after months. Not even a hug. Yeah, that's right.
A single hug. He goes, "Hey, how's it going, guys?" Not even a handshake. He greets them like they're fellow agents in the FBI.
Oh my god. The villain is also ridiculous. I do love that they keep with the early 90s, late 80s white for the villain. Perfect. How do you know it's a villain? Are they wearing a white suit? That's the first indicator.
And the good old slick back ponytail. Like,
of course.
Just put straight castor oil in his hair to make sure not a single hair strand ever pops out from that slick back.
Absolutely. So did this film hold up for you, Warren? Was it good?
All right. So I had two revelations while watching this movie and subsequently other martial arts movies that we've been watching lately. One, I think there's a fine line between martial arts movies and porno movies. I feel like if you were to take out the fight scenes and put in sex scenes, you would basically have a porno, and vice versa, due to like the lighting of it all, the production value, the really bad dialogue, and the acting. It's
my god, Warren! Oh my god!
From watching both is the same. You're like, I'm kind of sitting through this so I can see the fight scene. All right, I'm sitting through this so I can see the sex scene. So it's like, honestly, I'm sure they use the same sets. Maybe they use the same actors sometime.
Warren, I think you need to write like a dissertation on the context of action films in the 90s and porn in the 90s. That could be your doctoral thesis.
That'll be. I can give tours in colleges. You can talk about how to keep a set cheap and how to use it for multiple productions.
Dude, you're not wrong though. I mean, a lot of those sets do look straight out of porn. Like the house.
Entire house. Yes. Yes. And then the second thing is like, as much as I love the movie, there was like kind of like a Mandela effect. Like, I remember this distinct scene when Colt and Rocky are playing 2-on-2 basketball with the bullies, and they're on their game point, and one of the bullies, and I think Rocky hits him with his shoulder, and he walks by, and they put a sound in, and he goes, "Hey." And my brother and I would rewind it over and over again, just go, "Hey, hey, hey, hey," because it's not his voice. They just force that in later on, so we watch it hour after hour laughing over it. But when I rewatched it, the sound wasn't there. It wasn't there. So I don't know if they took it out or if it never existed. So it's like this thing of like...
Was it in another Three Ninjas movie?
No. I could call Kevin right now and be like, "Kevin, do you remember in Three Ninjas?" "Yeah, it's during the basketball scene, and Rocky throws his shoulder and the basketball player." So needless to say, now as I'm older, it is not good. This movie is not good. I don't enjoy watching it, but I had fun for nostalgic reasons, being like, "Oh, there's still these three dumb surf ninjas doing a Keanu Reeves impersonation. This is fun. This bad guy just wants to be Van Damme so badly, but he's not." Like,
well, then the real question is, was it good to you still? Like, obviously the nostalgia still held up. Did you enjoy? I think maybe more than anything, do you just remember like how much you loved it with your brothers, and that's the thing that it will be Do you like it more than Surf Ninjas? Is the real question.
Yes, I love this insurmountably more than Surf Ninjas. So many memories came back to me as I'm watching it of being in my household with my two older brothers. For that reason, I will always love and cherish this movie, but I don't plan on rewatching it anytime soon.
You're not going to introduce your kids to it someday. Maybe you could.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'll slip a DVD on the ground, and if they find it like a Jumanji game board and watch it on their own with their siblings, and it creates this whole thing for them, I'll be happy with that. But I'm not gonna sit them down to watch it. No.
Well, I didn't. While I was watching it, I just forgot how many fucking kung fu related things were in the 90s when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where I was like thinking about it, and I was like, oh yeah. I'm surprised that I never saw this as a kid, but yeah, okay, well, cool. I'm glad that you still have fond memories of it, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it more than Surf Ninjas. I think I'm the reverse. I think I actually enjoyed Surf Ninjas more than I enjoyed this, because I think Ernie Reyes Jr. is fucking awesome, and it was always good to see Leslie Nielsen, even in a cultural appropriation so often that we should stop talking about it and get on to what we recommended to each other from last time.
Yeah.
So last time you recommended to me Kim's Convenience.
Yes.
And I recommended to you In Praise of Shadows, a relatively new YouTube channel. Would you like to go first? Would you like me to go first? What do you think? What do you feel?
Why don't you go first? Because I feel like I need to recover. I'm still flooded with Three Ninjas thoughts.
Oh, you're still you're just awash in childhood memories.
Oh,
well, we're gonna. I guess
jelly beans. Oh, Liam's traps. Anyway.
I guess we'll keep with the Asian theme at the very least, and this time for sure there is an entire full cast of Asians. Unlike Three Ninjas, which only has one and a daughter who is clearly the whitest woman that ever existed. This show actually has a full Asian cast, and boy, oh boy, is see that. It is so rare to see that it kind of took me aback when I was watching it. Now, I'm kind of 50-50 on Kim's Convenience. There are definitely things about it that I like, and there are definitely things about it that I very much dislike.
Get it? Because those jokes don't always land.
Oh,
a lot of dead air. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but let me talk about what I did like. So this was originally a stage play, and you can definitely see the fingers of that still in the show today. But I do think that them transitioning it into a full series was pretty impressive, and I like that they went bigger with it, obviously. I do think that the performances, especially from the guy who's going to be playing the new, I can never remember his name.
Simu
Liu. I think he does a phenomenal job as like the estranged son of the family. And I think that's a really nice storyline in general, because I think one of the shittier stereotypes about Asian families is that they're all perfect, right? Like they're these
model minority.
Yeah, this model minority, awful kind of syndrome that we've put on Asians. And this guy in the family, it was a fuck up. He, did some shitty stuff in his past, and now he's trying to fix it. And he's estranged from his dad. And I think that whole storyline works really well. And I do think the storyline between the mother, father, and the daughter, with her trying to be kind of that model minority to a certain degree,
while also trying to
having
do her
the
own
pressure
thing.
of it.
Yeah.
Works as well, and trying to be better than her brother. Like, I think that actually does work quite nicely in the context of the show. But this show is said to be a comedy.
It sure isn't a laugh a minute.
And I would say that maybe if 5 jokes land per episode, you got a good episode.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts, but it's so true.
The jokes are so forced and are so bad sometimes. And you could literally see them coming 15, 20 miles away. True. It's like if the joke was the size of a sun, you're just like, yeah, there's the joke. I get it. I see it.
Yeah, they're billboard jokes.
Also,
where's my hat? It's on their head.
Yeah. The show also feels painfully cheap. Like, just the production value and design and everything. Like, I know it was made in Canada, but I don't know, the day that $15, I would be like, oh yeah, we get it.
Yeah, it makes sense. The production companies are like an all Asian cast. Well, we don't want to pay for that. Here's our loose change. Make it work. And they were like, okay, we will. We'll show you. Give us, please.
We can get one joke per minute. This amount of money.
Yeah, I think Kim's Convenience is a really beautiful show that it has like a real ensemble family feel. Like it does that being that it came from a stage show, it really shows the level of performance from people because I guess they probably had a lot of time to work together, get to know each other, and it kind of shows on screen. I feel like when they're together as a family, it works so much better when they are apart doing their own separate storylines.
Absolutely, yeah. The family dynamic is by far the bedrock of what makes the show worth watching. Mm-hmm. It's just sad that is not really the thing that they focus on for most episodes.
No, they really isn't. Yeah, love lot, and it's like I don't know. It's a warm blanket show for me. You know, obviously because I want diversity for Asian actors who get to speak English in their roles, and it's like shows like this and Fresh Off the Boat that lead to people getting as big as they are. Ali Wong wrote for Fresh Off the Boat, and she's a megastar now. And Simu Liu is going to play Shang-Chi in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because of Kim's Convenience. So
and not only that, he's the sex object in the show too, the female boss.
Yes, extremely sexualized. He's a womanizer. Yay, but no, bad.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like shows like this may not be the best show, but they are the stepping stones for us getting obviously more diversity and us getting better versions of these shows.
Right. They all don't need to be home runs. We just need more inclusivity and more opportunity. Like there's so many bad shows out there. Why can't there be an all Asian cast show that's just decent? You know, like they don't have to all be crazy rich Asians now.
Absolutely. So I enjoyed Kim's Convenience. I got 3 episodes deep. I don't know if I'm going to keep going with it. Like the jokes are that bad.
You don't want to out longer. You don't want to talk to more LGBTQ characters and really just fuck that up.
Nope. I'm good. Yeah, no, that whole exchange was that's episode 1. That's
their swing for the fence.
Yeah.
Let's have the transgendered woman talk to Appa about their life choices.
Not only talk to Appa about his life choices, do it in broken English, nonetheless, and make bad transgender jokes. It's a full combination of things where you're just like, who wrote this?
Yeah, why this? But hey, you gotta try.
Once again, it is not the best show, but I am glad that it exists. I'm glad that you recommended it. I'm glad I saw it. And I'm glad to see that some of the cast is already getting recognized and put larger because that's important.
Quite. And now for your recommendation that you gave to me. You told me to check out a YouTube channel called In Praise of Shadows.
Well, I knew that it was going to be spooky season soon. I'm sorry. Ooh. And I knew that for the month of October, I wanted to recommend more horror stuff to you. Right. And I thought a good way for you to get maybe a little bit more enjoyment out of it, potentially, was to watch this really cool guy on YouTube who does video essays that are predominantly about horror-related things. And I'll let you take it from there.
And it did a great job. The gentleman who makes this channel does a historic he's like a history buff mixed with your favorite teacher dissertations on the horror genre or comic books. He does these deep dives and really picking apart things he really cares about and presenting in a very easy to digest way. The 2 videos I watched was one, the effect of Gremlins on the horror genre and how it created little creature horror movies. Where before that, the only tiny things you would see are animals of some sort, But this was the first time something was created and then spurred all of these knockoffs or all these things that would later influence.
It infected Hollywood. It infected Hollywood with Critters and Gremlins and all this other shit.
Cute little bullshit.
Tools.
Yeah. And then, which would then eventually have some the technology to have big actors look small on screen while attacking someone, which would later then be used for Lord of the Rings. So the cultural impact of Gremlins far exceeds just the horror genre. And he spoke all this within 14 minutes of his video and really broke it down. He's really talented, really knows his stuff. With that being said, though, is that some of his videos can be like over an hour long. So like the guy is like
He goes in deep.
he goes in deep and he's not afraid to do it, which is beautiful. And I wish him the best. But for me, as someone who's just starting off, it's a bit much. It's like, I'm not going to watch the 4-part video series on witches with each video being close to an hour. It's like, man, this is scary for me to even approach this. Why does this exist? I'm proud of you for doing it, but I don't want to touch it. But then his video on Watchmen, and he talks about how sequels don't work and how a non-traditional sequel does work, was just brilliant. He broke down how the comics try to expand on the Watchmen universe by pulling him into the regular DC comics of the Doomsday Clock. And he talked about before Watchmen and after Watchmen, and how all these things take what you think you want from a sequel and just repeats it like every sequel. It ends up not working because it doesn't have the heart that you're looking for, and it just feels like a cheap knockoff. But when you do a non-traditional sequel like the Watchmen TV series on HBO, and you take the idea of everything that's happening and then expand the world, you have something so much greater and lasts so much longer. And that video was breathtakingly deep and well-researched.
Yeah, that video is phenomenal. And yes, I agree that some of his, I hope that you maybe come back to and praise the Shadows after you've grown to like horror a little bit more.
I definitely
Maybe that's the way that shit. Look, the channel is for both beginning and like expert level horror loving. One of my favorite videos from him is a video about why horror book covers have changed over the years and why horror imagery is so important for horror in general.
Right.
That's like, who would think about that as that's one of the reasons why I love YouTube, is because they're passionate people creating videos about stuff that you would never think of, but are so glad it exists.
Truly.
And that's the way I feel about this entire channel. Like, I love what he does. I can't sing his praises enough. And I'm really glad that you enjoyed him.
Yeah, and Praise the Shadows is great. And that is a brilliant thing to look at, because those Goosebump covers will last in my mind for a long time.
Stand the test of time. Those books are, when you went into a book fair and you saw those, those stood out more than any other book on the shelf.
Yeah. That and the Redwall series. Oh, I would always be like, oh, rodents are wearing armor and have swords? What is that all about?
What's that about?
I don't want to read it. I just want to stare at it. That's me. Oh, all right, bye.
I don't like reading. I hate it.
As I like break a table with my fist, I'm like, I'm more into karate.
Tum Tum's here. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't work when you're by yourself. Where are your brothers?
What do you think Well Actually Guy would say about ninjutsu by yourself without 3 brothers?
Oh, I got it. Well, actually, the key to ninjutsu is not being seen. It's hiding in plain sight. So by announcing yourself with a kia or by wearing vibrant colors, you're actually defeating the purpose of ninja. And then, let's say the book fair, you would hide maybe as a janitor cleaning up in the background or as a salesperson. But by doing it as a screaming child looking for attention, that's not a ninja. That's no longer, you cease to be a ninja by doing so.
Thank you, Well Actually Guy.
My pleasure.
All right. So, God, shit, we've already hit an hour. So what are your recommendations for next week?
So I suggested, I brought it up in an earlier episode, but I want you to watch it now. I'm forcing you to watch it now. Animal World. The story.
Oh yeah, we talked about this last episode about, with translators and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I am very excited to watch this film, and it's on Netflix. So yeah, I'm going to be watching that tonight.
Yes, you're gonna love it. It's based off of an anime and manga. It's all about people trying to survive by gambling on a ship. Check it out.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna be watching that. And seeing as it's time for Halloween, I thought the best thing to start with was, have you ever watched John Carpenter's original Halloween film from 1978?
No, I haven't actually. No.
But I mean, obviously you're very aware of Michael Myers in the cultural
I know Michael
landscape.
Myers and I know Jamie Lee Curtis, but I've never seen the first Halloween.
Well, then guess what you're watching? You are going to watch John Carpenter's Halloween 1978, wrote, directed, and did the score for this film. Very impressive. It is definitely one of my favorites for this time of year. It still holds up in my mind. It's not even a thing where is it good? I know that it's good, and I cannot wait for you to see it.
Awesome. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see what everyone's talking about. Oh, Halloween.
Now, we also have a guest coming on for next episode, and he recommended something for us to watch for our viewer or listener recommendation. He told us to watch McVerry's, an anime film that is on Amazon Prime, and he said it's pretty scary, so I'm looking forward to watching that. That's pretty cool.
Wait. Yes.
And on next week's But Is It Good?
Good. Yes.
I think it's been, when was the last time you watched Hocus Pocus?
Hocus Pocus. Wow. I haven't seen that since I was a kid. Yeah. But it lingers. I got a spell on you.
Yeah, I think I know I love that movie, or I think I love that movie.
But is it good?
Yeah, but is it good? The last time I saw Hocus Pocus was about 4 or 5 years ago. So I think it's time. I think it's time to go back and revisit it, especially if you haven't seen it in a long time. Yeah. It was definitely one of my all-time favorites as a kid. But yeah, is it good?
But is it good? A virgin being sacrificed for 3 hot witches. Is that good? I call all 3 hot. I called all 3 hot. What's up? That's
an interesting choice. That's it's definitely one way to go with it.
Is that good?
Yeah, but is it good? Good. So next week we will be watching and having our very first guest on Pop Culture Party People. We will be watching Memories, which is recommended by our guest, Dale Zarb. We will be watching Animal World from me on my recommendation. You will be watching Halloween, the original John Carpenter movie from 1978. And we will be doing a segment of But Is It Good with Hocus Pocus.
Cannot wait.
So that is it for this episode number 7 of Pop Culture Party People. Oh my God, we did another one. Feels good, right? Yeah, shake it off. Shake it off. Taylor Swift, shake it off, baby. Shake it off.
Yes.
Warren, you got any plugs that you'd like to plug at this time?
Plugs is please check out my Twitch. I'm now playing Star Wars Squadrons. Very excited to be doing that. I downloaded Mugen, and that's a deep dive of how to even know how computers work anymore. I just want to thank everyone for the feedback and for watching our show and listening to our podcast. Thank you so much to everyone that's reached out and told me how much you enjoy it. Please comment. Please let us know what you want us to watch. Thank you so much.
I, too, would like to second that notion. The podcast is doing relatively well for us anyway, for 2 basically unknown people. We've got a lot of feedback, and everybody's been saying how much they like it. Seriously, that means the world to us. If you guys like the show, though, please comment, share, like, and recommend stuff to us. The only way that the show gets bigger is by you telling other people. That's the way it works. As for me, you can find me. You can find me on YouTube at Unlimited Free Time. I'm actually going to be taking a little bit of a break over the next month because I'm going to be working on the movie is, but I'm very lucky that I got picked up to work on a production as a COVID safety officer. So I got trained recently in how to keep people safe on set and to get us back to work. So I'm very excited about that. But most days on set are around 12 hours. So, and I'm going to be doing that 6 days a week. So I'm not going to have a ton of time to do YouTube videos, but me and Warren are definitely going to keep the podcast going. It is much easier to record a podcast than to do a full edited video, but I've got over 35 videos on my YouTube channel now. So you've got a back catalog of stuff to watch.
There's that Bond episode.
Oh,
that Spielberg episode. Get in there.
Absolutely. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, I am at All the Birds. And if you would like to follow the Pop Culture Party People on one of our social media handles, you could follow us on Twitter at the PPC Podcast. And Warren on Instagram. It's at the PCP Podcast.
podcast, or is it the PCP podcast?
It's PCPP podcast.
All right, good. Find us at the PCP podcast. Oh wait, it's a much different podcast. Find us on Instagram at the PCPP podcast.
Absolutely. All right, that is another episode in the books. Warren, I love you. I can't wait to talk to you about the other stuff. For everybody out there, remember, we are the pop culture party people. We put the cult in pop culture.
Pop culture.
Bye.
Bye.